Hello. Welcome to the debut of Not Just Visiting, a show about Fort Collins by people who love, adore, and simply cherish all that makes Fort Collins great. My name is David Matheson, and I will be your host for this episode. The goal of Not Just Visiting is to focus on specific people, places, events, things that make Fort Collins so unique and such a great place to live. In our debut episode today, we have as our guest a local artist, a watercolor artist by the name of Barbara Moore. You may have heard of her. A lot of her artwork has graced the cover of Discover Fort Collins magazine. She's won a multiple amount of awards, and I had a wonderful opportunity to interview her at her studio, and you will just be amazed at how fantastic and how intricate and how well defined her watercolors are. They will just blow your socks off. I don't think seeing them on television really does them any justice. We'll give you some information later on about how you could contact Barbara or find out more about her watercolors and her website. Anyway, what does Not Just Visiting mean? Well, we'll answer that question in just a second. So, see you in a minute.
Someone that's not just visiting is someone who comes to this place from another place and decides to stay in this place and not go back to the other place. Therefore, this place now becomes the other place, and the other place is no longer his place, but another place that he could just visit. And I think we should kill anyone who's standing in water. Oh no!
Not just visiting. Let's see, what does that mean? Let's break it down, shall we? Not, well, that means no, doesn't it? Just, well, seeing as how I'm a judge, I believe I am very just, so it stands for justice. Visiting, well, let's see, my in-laws came to visit me for 2 weeks, and they stayed for 2 years. So I'm not so fond of visiting. So let's break it down, shall we? It means no justice for visitors. And I also believe we should have the death penalty for people who are standing in water.
Oh no!
This is Barbara Moore. Let's give it up for Barbara. Thank you. Yes, yes. Barbara, I don't know if you know it or not, but we have a lot of people applauding you right now. But anyway, Barbara was so gracious enough to be on our show. And I've had a chance to sit down and talk to you before. And so what I would like for you to do is if you could just kind of tell us what got you interested in painting in general, and then how it became a career.
Oh, okay. I just had an amazing journey. My dad was in the Air Force. I grew up as an Air Force brat, but he also had aspirations to go to work for Walt Disney as a cartoonist, and took classes in art, and he would always do little cartoon characters for us, and we'd sit on his lap and we'd go, well, draw a donkey, and he'd draw a donkey. And so it just always kind of piqued my interest in art. Took classes in high school, and then when I went to college, started majoring in fine arts. and got my degree, and then got married right after I graduated.
Okay.
And started painting, but it was in oils at the time. Watercolors were for kindergartners, and so, but I always wanted to take watercolors, but didn't. So just did paintings, gave them away as gifts and presents and all, and then we moved all around the country, and fortunately we had the opportunity to go to Southern California, and by then we'd had 2 sons, and this is in the early 70s, and so I just asked if it would be okay if I take like some watercolor classes out there, because that's kind of where watercolor
You asked your
started.
husband?
I did, because he needed to babysit.
Okay, right.
So took some classes there and absolutely fell in love with watercolor. And I think what happened just prior to that to really put me over the edge, we had an Irish setter, and I was painting in oils, and she was laying down beside me, and she saw and I was inside when I was painting, she saw a squirrel, and she took off through my easel, and everything went flying into the air, and as she went to chase this squirrel, and paint everywhere. The painting was upside down on the carpet. We were in a rental at the time, and I said, that is it. I am never painting in oils again. So really wanted to find a medium that was quick because of the kids and wanting to be there for them all the time. So took classes and fell in love with it, as I said, and started doing a few outdoor shows. He encouraged me to do those. But I always took the attitude that if you're going to have children, you need to put your energy and time into your kids.
Right,
and
yeah.
I did. I would make sure that I didn't have any shows that would conflict with their activities. And so pursued that. And
So it started off as a hobby. Okay.
Yeah, it really did. And I would do it when I could, and just, do little tiny art shows with some other people and all.
And you started making some money off that?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this is kind of good. My very first art show I went to, participated in, I had all my little paintings and hung them all up, and the gal next to me came over, and she had beautiful abstract art, which I do love. And she came over and she looked at my work and she said, I used to paint like that. And I thought, oh, well, because mine's very traditional artwork. And so I thought, well, that's what I do and it's what I'm passionate about. So at the end of the 2-day show, I had 1 painting left. People were standing in line with 2 in each hand, and she had all of hers. So I thought, well, I guess what I'm doing is good, and it's on the right track. So continued pursuing that.
Well, it definitely has turned into something for you, hasn't it?
It has, and I've just, I've been very, very fortunate. Every place we lived, I always painted the little towns and the barns and buildings around the towns. And when we moved to Fort Collins in '88, I just kind of watched, they had just kind of done the Old Town Square, and they were trying to remodel and preserve a lot of the historic buildings, which I dearly loved. And so just watched, and I painted a few of the Old Town scenes, and my husband said, nah, who's going to buy those? And I thought, I don't know, but I'll take them to a show and see, and they disappeared immediately.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe I'm on to something here. So kept painting a little bit more of the Old Town area, and then a gentleman, David Massey, who does the Discover Fort Collins magazine, walked into a gallery that I was in and saw my work, and he was just trying to get this magazine up and running, and he said, this is exactly what I want on the covers. So in 2001, he approached me to do the covers for the magazine, and I've been doing them basically up to the present. So it's been a great journey, and I've been very fortunate to be able to balance. I always said when my kids left high school and went off to college, that it was then my time to pursue my career, and things started a little bit sooner than I had planned on, but that's okay. So when they were gone, then the ball was off and rolling, and
Right.
I could...
Now, I've noticed, like, I went to your website and I saw a lot more of your paintings, and I've noticed that you do like a lot of the scenes of Old Town, but you also have done other landscapes and paintings like that. What I hadn't noticed was like portraits of people, but I noticed on your wall, all around your wall in your studio here, that you have the front cover of the Fort Collins magazine that you were talking about, and there are portraits on there. So why don't you do that?
Well, I was forced into it.
Okay.
David had, actually the very first one was one of the youth symphony, and he asked me to do that, and I said, well, I don't do people, David. He goes, no, but it'll be really good, and this is what you can do. And I said, I don't do people. Well, I agonized over this piece, and he loved it, and it was well received and all. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can do people, as long as I don't have to make them really look like the person, although when I do, on the conductor, it needed to look like that person. I tend to sway away from portraits because I have heard comments from other, people who've had their portraits done when they've said, well, it really didn't look like me, or they wanted them to look thinner, or everybody has a preconceived idea of how they look, and then when it's somebody paints their picture, it's not quite how they perceived it, or their children or whatever. So I've just shied away from that as much as I can. But David has pushed me out of my comfort zone, which is a good thing because I needed to do that. But it has been fun, but not to make a living on portraits, no.
Yeah, well, I can imagine, because you're looking at the person as you see them, and probably what they really look like, and they look at themselves a little bit different. And it's like they want you, as you mentioned, they want you to make them look like something that they're not, and I don't think I'd want to deal with that either.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have won a lot of awards, and the people watching on television will see a list pop up, and we're going to do it really fast.
Okay.
So we don't waste a lot of time. People see that. But you were named this year the 2010 Larimer County Visual Artist of the Year.
Yes, I
Did you get a tiara?
Oh, no.
$100,000 you travel around?
They're going to make me work.
Really?
Yeah.
So what are they going to make you do?
Because of that, I get access to all the county parks in Larimer County, and I got to go on a tour on quite a few around here. But then I will get to go to any that I choose, and then I need to paint a painting for them that will hang in the Larimer County offices. So I'm going to put my heart and soul into that one, as I do on any painting that I do, but just try to get something that really, when I paint, I want my viewer to feel like they were standing right beside me and viewing the same scene that I saw, and kind of feel the same emotions that I feel. I mean, it's not just painting a pretty picture, it's trying to get that emotion that was in the painting, that people can feel. And I've had people say that, they do feel that, so I hopefully.
I would have to agree, because, I mean, that's what's so amazing. It's like right now that you have, your paintings on the wall. And actually the one that I'm looking at just is really, really cool. It's, that's outside Coopersmith, is that right? I'm fairly new to town, as are most people, I guess. Not very many people seem to be born here. But what's up with the little old man? How'd you get him to stay there?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I was walking around. What I do with watercolor, because my paintings are so detailed, I work from my own photographs.
Okay, so you take photographs.
I do. I take a photograph. I do not use anybody else's because of plagiarism issues, and I just want to do my own thing. You can ask permission to use a photographer's painting or a picture, but I choose to do my own. So he was sitting there, and I thought, this is perfect because he balances out the umbrellas and the scene. And so I was just ready to click the picture, and he stood up. And I don't know if he saw me or not, but I just kind of went, oh, like, darn, I missed my opportunity. And he must have seen me, because he sat back down, crossed his leg, put his little cane up there, and posed for me. And so I took a number of pictures. That was Otto. He was about 93 years
Okay.
old. He was kind of an old town fixture. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple years later, but he was just the neatest guy. And every time I kind of walk through, he'd have a different hat on and be sitting kind of in that spot and walking around Old Town. So
Yeah.
it was just fun. And every painting, almost every painting has some kind of a story to it. That means something to me and hopefully to other people. Fort Collins is pretty special. I mean, the old town or the old Fort Collins High School that CSU has taken over now. A lot of people graduated from that high school. So, and then what CSU has done to the gardens in front that didn't exist when kids went to school there.
Oh, so
been fun.
the new, so Fort Collins High School now is,
The one
Newer.
over on Timberline
Okay.
is the new one. This is the original old Fort Collins High School.
wow, it looks like a university.
Yeah, it does, and it's nice that the university has preserved the facade of it. And but they've done some wonderful things inside with the auditorium and all. And
You have quite a few different paintings in here, and I guess some of them are prints, but there's also prints that are on canvas.
yes,
Which I'd
these
never
are
heard of.
almost all my paintings. I have a few lithographs, which is what I started in, and because giclées were just starting to come out. And then the giclées came out, and I've done, and you can do them on paper, you can do them on canvas, but it's a digital process that they print, they scan the original, and then print it either on paper or canvas, and use pigmented inks, and they just look so close to the original. I have been extremely pleased. I've done some projects with CSU and around town, the DMA Plaza, and we've blown up some of the pieces to, 5 to 10 times larger, and all I could picture, because it was going to be digitized, that you're going to have all these pixelated pictures. And I guess what the printer or Fine Print has told me that does all my giclées, they told me that because of all the detail that I put in them, they really hold together pretty well. So, or really well. So we've had fun blowing them up and
Yeah.
seeing how large we can take them. Because originally you weren't supposed to take them too much beyond the size of the original,
Right.
but now you can go really big.
Yeah, that looks to me like an original, and I was amazed.
thanks.
Which kind of segues me into the other aspect of being an artist. It's like obviously you have to make a living. So do you have assistants? Do you have people that help you, or are you
My
a
husband.
one-woman show? Your husband?
Yeah, it's just been great. He will help me mat and frame and all. But I think that the universities and colleges are making a mistake in not making art students, I don't care if you're a studio artist, an art teacher, whatever, making them all take business and marketing classes. I learned through trial and error. It was not suggested to me at the time, and of course you're in your 20s and you really don't think about those things. And I've made a lot of mistakes and done some things that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel 3 times on, but I am more than willing to share all that I know in terms of doing it in this business. And I've been very fortunate to be able to make a living. Not a lot of artists can say that, but I've been able to make a living, a comfortable living at my art business. But you have to flip that switch, which artists really don't like to do. And then you have to flip that switch from being your creative side over to your business side. And that's a hard thing to do. And in reality, you actually should spend more time on the marketing of your artwork than the actual painting of your artwork. Just because you paint it, the people are not going to come. You got to get it out there and expose it and get yourself everywhere and anywhere. I donate to a lot of nonprofits in town just because I believe in their project too, but it also gets my name out there. I get phone calls almost weekly from some nonprofit asking to have me donate something, and I'm more than happy to do that. But it also, it helps me too, and I will let people use my image in their ads and that type of thing too, and I just ask them if they could, not just take it off my website and use it, but give me credit for it, and that's worked out well too. It's just, I do lots of different things like doing mugs and calendars, and I had a book that I published and did 3,000 copies, and it's sold out now, and it's only been out about 3 or 4 years, and so I was real pleased with that. But just doing all those little things to keep my name out there in front of the public, and of course the cover on the magazine has been huge to keep it out there, and I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, we've collected every single copy," and I'm going, "Oh my goodness, you have a stack of them," so it's been fun. But yeah, so I think it's just trying to get artists to realize that they do need to have that business side of them, and not just because you see someone who is successful doing, I do Old Town, and I know several other artists have done that too, but they saw that and nobody was painting Old Town when I came here, and I think that's what kind of got me going, and they thought, well, she's making, selling her paintings, I can do that too, but they didn't have the architectural background and all, and what you could tell, it was something they weren't passionate about. They were doing it just to sell a painting. And so I have always said to people, just be passionate about what you're doing. If you love to paint cats and dogs, paint cats and dogs. Go to the vet offices, go to different places, the Humane Society, and see if you can't market them some way or get into pet magazines and all. But do what you love, and the rest will follow.
Well, what is it that what is it you see, or what is it you're looking for when you're painting? A particular thing that catches your eye? Do you have to plan it out?
Yeah, it's kind of an emotion. And of course, I'm passionate about Old Town, and I've met a lot of the people who've worked on the Historical Society to preserve some of the old buildings. And if I can contribute in some way to preserve the way Old Town is now for the future, that's kind of fun. I don't know if that's what I'm doing or not, but just to kind of capture what it is in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, what Old Town and Fort Collins is all about. But it's kind of an emotion. I lost my first husband back in '07, and some girlfriends and I decided to go to Italy, and it was just a wonderful experience, and it took, emotional experience, we 3 girls going over there, and I think it took my painting to another level, and I did a lot of Italy scenes, and they have been just doing so well. All of them have gotten into some national show, whether it's from California to New York, and it's been very fun to see what's happened there. But again, it's an emotional feeling that I try to put into my paintings, that people will feel like, oh, I was right there walking down that street with you. So
yeah. You do you have quite a lot of paintings of Fort Collins. Especially the Old Town part of Fort Collins. Now, and those sell, because they got to sell anywhere.
Yeah, several of them have sold out.
It could be anywhere USA, kind of a look to them. And but you also do. You said you did the ones in Italy, but you do landscaping as well.
I do.
Where do you go to
well,
get those
I do
done?
shows around the state, and unfortunately, people in Aspen or Beaver Creek really don't care about Fort Collins. So to take Fort Collins on the road with me doesn't necessarily hack it. I do a CSU diploma frame, and I always take that one with me, and a few of the Coca-Cola signs, because there are Coca-Cola collectors.
Yeah.
But I don't take very many with me on the road. So I have always, and it's funny because when I do the new Westfest show in Fort Collins, people come up and they'll look at my booth, and I'll have a mixture of Old Town and landscapes, and they go, "We didn't know you did landscapes." And I always did landscapes. It's just when I moved here I started doing the Old Town things too. But have always done a lot of the Poudre River scenes, and Rocky Mountain National Park, which is in our back door. And I go up there and I'll spend a fair amount of time just sitting. I love painting the elk, and particularly in the fall when the aspen are turning.
They stand still for you?
Yeah, kind of,
Freeze.
sort of.
Freeze. Don't move.
But that's why I stay there for hours, because they'll be, I mean, especially when the rut is going on and they're bugling, and I mean, this bull is thinking that bull's going to take his girls, and so it's kind of, watching their antics has been just real fun. But you have to be careful when you're doing elk, because, or any wildlife. There are those people who really, they're hunters, and they may not be painters, but they know the anatomy of an elk or a bighorn or whatever animal it is. And so I had somebody comment, I had the rack, way when I first started doing elk, I had the rack slightly wrong. And so I was quickly told that I needed to correct that if I was going to continue to sell elk. So I pay very close attention. And then somebody came up to me and they said, "Oh, you paint the moose, or the," I do paint moose too, but you say you paint the elk's nose like an elk instead of a cow nose. And I guess a lot of artists paint, I never paid attention, but they paint them like a cow nose instead of an elk nose. So so.
I can't actually picture either one in my brain right now.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I've
remarried, and I'm married to a rancher, and we have lots of cows. So I know the difference between a cow and an elk nose now. So yes.
So that's amazing. So like when you're out there doing the landscape, you're just sitting there for hours. You got to have a lot of patience and passion for doing something like that.
Exactly.
I would get stir crazy after a while.
Well, I think particularly with the elk, there's so much going on, and just watching them is wonderful. If there's a sunset that's happening, I can sit there until it's gone. I mean, I had gone up to Rocky Mountain National Park with some girlfriends to paint, and we came down coming out from Hallett's Peak and Bear Lake, and I had never been to Sprague Lake at the time, and I said, "Oh, can we just peek in there?" And there's that wonderful trail that goes around on the east side of it, and so we kind of walked around there. Well, it was right at sunset, and if I hadn't had the camera with me, I'd have never been able to capture it. But it was just 5 minutes of that sun setting behind Hallett's and capturing that sun dancing across the water and backlighting the trees, and it was just magical. And so it's things like that you just happen to be at the right place at the right time to capture some of those moments that you can then translate into, hopefully, a great painting that'll sell. So
yeah. But
it's fun.
So tell me about the passion that you have for your work. I am incredibly passionate about everything. See, I don't think you are, because it's just kind of ordinary, run-of-the-mill artwork. I mean, actually, I don't. When I had what we call a pre-production meeting, when I sat down, you, my wife, and I, we all sat down and had some coffee, just kind of chat, just kind of get an idea of your interests and stuff like that. I actually showed you my artwork. I do stick figure men, or women, I guess.
And I did one back.
You did. But I got to tell you, I've been examining that, and I think mine's the best. Yours is
I don't do
like
people.
Discombobulated. I mean, the feet are hanging out all by themselves. Kind of almost abstract art.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your next calling. Is
right,
abstract.
right. Upside down.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
I treat it as a business. I get up in the morning and usually work out and then get right to it. And I'm in my studio. My production time is January through the end of May. And I've collected a lot of resource material over the summer, and then I decide what I'm going to do. And when I get involved in my painting, once I decide I'm going to spend hours and days on the composition and getting it right, and then kind of have my roadmap, so to speak, of what I'm going to be doing and how I'm going to paint it. And sometimes I challenge myself to do something I've never done before in each painting. And I will often go to bed for 2 or 3 nights and paint that painting in my head so I know exactly how I'm going to approach it. And then when I'm in here painting, if the phone rings or somebody walks in, I mean, you could almost peel me off the ceiling because I am so immersed into that moment. And you think, oh, just sitting there painting, you're not going to be tired. By the end of the day, and I paint till dinner time, I am absolutely exhausted. It's just my eyes are crossed and everything else.
And the mental aspect.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I'm pushing the painting. And watercolor, you tend to think of watercolor more as very pastel and watery looking. And because I'm very tight and I push the colors to their max, and I want to get those deep, deep values against the lights and just really push the piece as far as I possibly can. And it's hard because like in oils and acrylics, you can scrape off or cover up. Watercolor, you kind of get one shot at it, so you have to do a lot of pre-planning and just be into that moment and that scene that you're painting, and that's what I get so passionate about. My youngest son, well, let me back up. My oldest son is a computer science major and has a wonderful job doing lines and lines of coding for the company, their website and all. And my youngest son, when he went to college, decided that he was going to do exactly what his brother did. And he did his first year, and he just was, oh, Mom, I just can't do this. I don't want to sit behind a desk all day long. And I said, okay. I said, disregard the money aspect of it. What lights your fire? What are you passionate about? And he said, art. And I went, oh. And I just it's a hard business. But he'd taken all the business classes already. And I said, well, what in art do you want to do? And he said, graphic designing. And I said, okay, be the best graphic designer you can possibly be. Be passionate about everything you do. And so when he graduated from Montana State, he graduated at top honors, the top graphic designer in his class, and he landed a graphic designing job right out of, with a company right out of college, which very few did, and now he owns his own graphic design company here in Fort Collins. So it's just...
Is he hiring? Because I could show him my portfolio of stick figures.
Well, you'd have to talk to Scott. So, I don't know. Yeah. But he does a great job. And both boys are very passionate about what they do. And that's what I've always told when I have taught a business of art class to local artists and all, that you really, really have to be passionate about, don't think about the money in the beginning. And I know that's very hard because you're trying to make a living at this whole thing. And you've got, I do outdoor shows to market my artwork also and go all the way around the state with those, and to invest in a tent and panels and potentially lights and all that. You do put out a lot of money, but then very quickly that will come back to you if you are passionate, and it'll show in your work. So.
Great. That is a great way to end this segment. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Wow, a big thanks to Barbara for allowing us to go into her studio and interview her for the show. I just thought that was a great interview. We had to cut some of it out. Apologize for the bad audio. Our audio engineer has been, he's gone. Actually, that's not true because it was me. Oops. Anyway, well, that does not dampen your desire to watch our next show when we come up with it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned until next time. Thank you for watching our debut show. We hope you really enjoyed it. In the future, we plan on interviewing Fidel Castro, President Harry Truman. No, neither one. No. Did I just pick my nose? Can we cut that out? Thanks, Greg. Well, I'd like to thank you for watching our debut show here on Channel 97 and hope you really enjoyed it. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will feature A-Rod's ego, Madonna's sneakers, and Elvis Presley's ghost. Couldn't make it. The ghost couldn't make it. Okay, Elvis Presley. Anyway, till next time. Well, thank you for watching our debut episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and I really appreciate Barbara giving us her time and interviewing and not picking her nose on camera. I've got a thing about nose picking. I'm telling you, it's true. Hello. Welcome to our episode of Skubbel of Baggers announced. For gestoordelijke onstandversten gunst. Dus de vinstend, onskadeverde skondebedest. Gunst of frit, en zich af banden kataromst. Oesten dankest. Volgens, was gamandes. Funste kalabaka bunkalakaba. Yes, we want you to send us all your money, please. You know, just stick it in the envelope and stick it in the mail. But don't forget to stick a stamp on it before you mail it in. Because then it'll just come right back to you, and that does me absolutely no good. Hello. Cheesy. Hey. What's up? Give me one. Give me two. Give me three. Give me. That's enough. Hello. My name's David. And I like to eat peanut butter cookies. I eat them everywhere, even in the bed. I get crumbs all over the place. And now I have chromitis in me bum. Don't ask me how it happened. I don't know. Just somehow they got